There's a stage 4 GLP coming called bioglutide that will dramatically accelerate metabolic rate and prevent muscle loss. And you give them these drugs, they will shed body fat and build muscle like the bulls they used to show, the myostatin inhibiting bulls. Like, there are drugs in the pipeline, GLP-4s and GLP-5 agonists, that will, without a doubt, have people get on stage 350 pounds of 5% body fat.
Switching gears slightly here, when we're talking about peptides in regards to performance enhancement from an athletic standpoint, you know, what does that look like going forward? I mean, like, me personally, I'm a natural bodybuilder, and they've got like this crazy exhaustive banned substances, and they pretty much have a zero tolerance policy for everything. So, like, do you think they're gonna be receptive to some peptides like the 157 for, you know, recovery and injury prevention, or is it just gonna be like a, you know, ban on everything?
I don't know, dude, but I'll just tell you this, bro. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. And I will tell you this 100%. I mean, first off, there's no such thing as natural bodybuilding. I mean, that's a scam. I mean, I competed for a long time as a natural bodybuilder, and I have seen guys like in the, you know, the NPC side, because I was in a lot of that. I mean, I'm out of it. I haven't done any of this in over 12 years now, but I mean, obviously I stay in shape and stuff like that, and I'm conditioned, but like, I know the whole space. But I mean, I've seen guys in the natural bodybuilding that were more enhanced than guys that weren't, right? So it's like, it just depends on how you understand the system and know what you're doing and what you're saying. But to your question, because it's a great question, and I have said this on only one other podcast, like, we are within 1 year of creating men and women who are literally genetic mutants. Like, there are drugs in the pipeline, you know, GLP-4s and GLP-5 agonists that will, without a doubt, have people get on stage at, you know, let's say pro bodybuilders will be 350 pounds of 5% body fat. So it's like, if you look at like the best bodybuilders in the world in, you know, the last 25 years, you got the Ronnie Coleman's, the Jay Cutlers, you know, the Paul Dilletts, you know, what was his name? Phil Heath's. These guys at their biggest and leanest were 265 to 275 pounds. So you will see guys that will be 75 to 80 pounds heavier and leaner. And again, that's just due to the drugs. And it'll be easier to get on stage, you know, leaner than it ever was. You know, in the past, as you know, as a competitor, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's a thing of the past. You can use the drugs now. These stage 4, there's a stage 4 GLP coming called bioglutide that will dramatically accelerate metabolic rate and prevent muscle loss. It has a myostatin inhibiting factor to it. So if you take a genetically, you know, elevated, just call it a genetic mutant guy, maybe a Latin American or a black person, or, you know, African American person, and you give them these drugs, they will shed body fat and build muscle like the bulls they used to show, the myostatin inhibiting bulls. You know, so you'll see these people and you'll be like, what in the fuck is that? They look like an X-Men. So like, that's how close we are. You know, there's other drugs. And again, my company is going to be representing these. There's a follistatin. It's basically called a recombinant follistatin. And then there's a recombinant clotho. And when you look into these meds or these drugs, I mean, you're basically talking about like taking the most powerful life enhancing or longevity enhancing drugs like clotho, combining it with recombinant follistatin, and you can probably put 2 pounds of skeletal muscle on a person a week and accelerate their metabolic rate by 40%. So imagine taking a 29-year-old genetic freak bodybuilder, man or woman, and giving them, you know, 5 micrograms of clotho every 2 weeks and 1.5, you know, grams or 1.5, milligrams of recombinant follistatin every other week. And dude, they'll put on 20 pounds of muscle and lose 5 pounds of fat. And again, and these are in genetic freaks. So, I mean, this is all in the pipeline. It's all coming. And so I would say that, you know, we will change, again, assuming society holds together, we will change. We will see people that we've never seen before. Super shredded, super muscular, not having to diet, I mean, sure, they have to lower their carbohydrate impact and increase movement patterning and stuff like that, but nothing like the hardcore days of like bros, having to eat tilapia and white rice 4 or 5 times a day. I mean, that all those, that stuff is a thing of the past. Again, if you understand this like wizard pharmacology, and I'm seeing it, right? Because I'm kind of in the ground zero in the epicenter of it. And I'm just seeing things that I'm just like blows my mind. I mean, bro, today, my company, we just released, it's not available. It'll be out next week, but I just got it delivered today. A product called Biozapatite, and it's an oral GLP-2. So you could take 2 capsules of this AM and PM and increase your metabolic rate by 15 to 20% and decrease your appetite by 20%. Now, obviously, you still have to be intelligent about how you eat if you're a competitor and stuff like that. But I mean, this is stuff that's like no side effects with this. There's no side effects. It just increases metabolic rate and slows your appetite down, right? So you'll eat less. So if you're a competing bodybuilder, male or female, and you take this product, it's going to be so easy for you to get in contest ready condition because you're not going to be hungry.
So, like, is there ways to test to see if those people have been taking that? Like, is that even traceable?
No. And it will be, I mean, it will eventually be, but no, they're 5 years behind the drugs. And then, once they do catch up, there'll be smart guys out there like me that'll mass the tests, so you won't be able to find it. So we're getting into a realm now where it's like, it's always been the PED people were 10 years, and now it's like they're 3 to 5 years in front. But the technology is just becoming so advanced that like I don't really know if they'll ever really be able to test like, people that are using like GLP-4s or GLP-5s, because there's really no residue to understanding the body because these are all organic signaling molecules. So it's not like you could say, oh, this person is overloaded, with this, and say that he's cheating because that person could just be biochemically unique and have that amount in their body naturally. Or they can make that argument at least. But of course, people will know.
So what's a natural bodybuilder to do, man?
Do the same thing that everybody else is doing, bro. Take the good stuff. Take the goods.
Man, I've actually like legitimately been natural throughout my whole life.
That's
so
awesome.
It's unfortunate to see this unfolding. For people, I mean, I don't have anything against people that take PEDs now, like to each their own. I don't care. It's not my place to judge.
Yeah.
But man, I wish people were honest with it. So that was a level playing field.
But there's never been a level playing field. I mean, everyone's, even as far back as anything goes in bodybuilding, especially, where performance enhancement or judging is subjective, you're going to have people that are going to cheat.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, again, there's a difference, right? Like, if somebody's taking 4 grams of gear a week, plus growth hormone, plus insulin, plus all that, versus somebody who's just using TRT and maybe, 2 caps of a GLP-2. I mean, there's obviously a giant gradient, from as far as like where people are. So, I mean, I personally would argue that a natural bodybuilder who's 50 and is taking testosterone because he has no testosterone that his body's naturally producing anymore because he lives in a contaminated fucking environment, along with a minor dose of a GLP, they still have to work. They still got to put in the work in the gym. They still got to, regulate what they're eating, from a protein and carbohydrate and fat, standpoint. But clearly, as I told you, like if you want to go and tilt the balance with all the different drugs, I mean, the work that you would have to do 10, 15, 20 years ago is nothing with the stuff that is giving you the advantages. And that's why I'm saying like the genetically mutant, genetically advantageous people are going to just dominate the sport because of the drugs.
And so from a longevity, health, and wellness standpoint, like if people are taking these peptides to add more muscle, down regulate appetite, up regulate metabolism, like are there any negative repercussions to that playing out over time? Because there's not really been, I wouldn't imagine, long-term studies done on some of these newer drugs and peptides.
Yeah, I mean, there might be. I mean, the truth is, Robert, is that, and I say this on every podcast probably I've ever been on when I get a chance to talk about it, is it's statistically provable that the leaner you are, the longer you will live.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say to a person, and you're not the guy to say this because you understand the space. I mean, a lot of people don't understand what that means, right? Like they think that when they think about people who are muscular, they think of giant bodybuilder people. And I always tell people, I'm like, that's not true. Because if you're lean, what do you think the rest of your body is made of? You're muscular, right? So it's like if a woman is not a woman, if a man is 7 to 10% body fat, they're automatically muscular. Because you can't be walking around with water, right? Like it's got to be muscle in addition to what is holding the skeleton together in bone, right? So it's muscle, bone, and fat. So if you're a 7 to 10% guy year round, you're a very muscular, what is called as a hypermuscular person. So, and again, the statistics show that the less inflammation that you have, the less likely you will die of one of the diseases of aging, because inflammation is what causes disease. Because as you have inflammation around organ systems, biosystems, that is what causes the cellular degradation. The cellular degradation leads to one of the diseases of aging: heart disease, cancer, glaucoma, diabetes, neurodegenerative diseases of the brain, which are really type 3 diabetes. So it really just comes down to like people's awareness of how lean can I be? How healthy can I maintain my, leanness? Because as I like to say, it's about functional power and functional strength, right? Like you want to be in your 70s and 80s capable of hiking a mountain, picking up your grandkids, not being able to get winded when you walk up a stairs or excess stairs or climb a mountain or, do a hike on a big hill or something like that. So I think that's really what matters as we get older. But to your question, like, I don't think we really know. We don't really have enough data. I mean, I will definitely say that if you're comparing, a person who uses a microdose of a GLP-3 or a GLP-4 and keeps their body fat below 10% year round and doesn't, contribute to all these other lifestyle, let's say, shorteners like alcoholism, eating too much sugar, obviously taking recreational drugs, smoking cigarettes, whatever, like I still think that person's going to live longer than the people that are, quote unquote, doing normal adjuvants that destroy life. I mean, bro, the average person right now, this is a statistical fact. This is how insane it is in America. 40 and up, 73% of men and women in the United States right now are obese, according to the BMI. And if you're 40 and up, that's how many people in America are obese.
It is pretty ridiculous. It's crazy.
But I mean, I say this to people when I say that statistic, I mean, for you, you're like, yeah, of course. But like the average person doesn't believe that. And I'm like, motherfucker, go to an airport, go to a big, place that has a hodgepodge of humans, a cross-sectional group of humans from all across the planet. And it's undeniable. I mean, dude, when you fly, and I fly a lot now, I mean, the planes are a disaster. Whether you fly first class or in the back of the plane, doesn't matter, because they got to wait for all these gigantic people to, get off the plane and then be wheelchaired up. And I'm walking on these jetties and these runways or, the ramps, and these poor bastards can't even push these people. They're so heavy. You know what I mean? So it's like our society is broken. We're past the sell-by date. I don't know if we blame the people or we blame the modernization. I mean, again, the food, what's his name from Mind Pump, does a really good presentation on this. Sal, he's a good friend. I think you know him. He talks about the hyperpalatability of food. The corporations have engineered food for people to eat it in excess. And they eat more food than their bodies could ever capable of burning off. And they can't stop because they're addicted to the chemicals, in the actual food. So it's like, I have a lot of compassion for people that are obese and metabolically deranged, because again, what's been done to them, they have no control over. Now, obviously that's not making excuses for people, because yes, you could watch me or you and other people like you and I, and you can listen to us talk about like, hey, now you got to live insulin controlled. You got to exercise. You got to lift weights. You got to do cardio. You got to do certain things, but they don't, dude. The average people, they don't. We talked about that at the opening of the show. The average person is illiterate. They don't even know what a protein, carbohydrate, or fat is. They just eat because their bodies say, I'm hungry. And if you're eating to the point of like, you don't stop being hungry because the chemicals, you're going to end up being 250 plus pounds.
Thank you for watching this episode of The Savage Clip. If you want to see the full blown deep dive, check out the full episode here, and I'll see you there.